Lost and Found by NIDHI Shendurnikar. Dilip did not know how to use Facebook. His grandchildren mocked him for not keeping pace with time and technology. Reluctantly, he opened an account and despite his initial fears and apprehension was hooked instantly. Retired, he now spent the better part of his day surfing the net, connecting and chatting with ever-increasing circle of friends. Within a few months, he had found far-flung cousins and established relation contact long-lost friends. But there was one eluded him, and each day, as soon he logged in, he would troll different networks, looking for this one particular friend. "Who are you looking for, Dadaji?" asked his teenage grandson Rohan. "A friend," and the search continued. Dilip sat in the garden with his cup of tea and thought back to his college days in the US. Although 40 years had passed, if he closed his eyes, he could recall all them clearly. He could see himself on the first day on the campus of University of Iowa, surrounded by blonde Americans, feeling awkward, alone, and very far from home. He had been delighted to catch sight of familiar face and immediately approached him. "Hi, I'm Dilip." And in the big place, the tall, clear-cut features looking back at him. "Which part of India are you from?" "Parvez." "And actually I'm from Pakistan," came the reply. "I guess we used to be the part of India once," he added with a smile. Dilip stepped back. It was 1971 and the two countries were on the brink of the war. He was not sure how he could be friends with an enemy. Alone and in a minority of one, he found himself feeling more Indian than ever before. However, on the small campus, they were fated to meet every day in the classes at the cafeteria. They even ended up in the same dorm. In the class, they ended up working in the same group, making interactions unavoidable. The South Asians, a small minority and all homesick, banded into a tight-knit group, and none of them became closer than Parvez and Dilip. The two became inseparable, studying hard, partying hard, and wooing long-legged girls in his short skirts, experimenting with the happy drug so freely available on the American campuses in 1970s. Their dinner party were legendary. Parvez would produce blisteringly hot curries and rich cardamom-scented biryani, while Dilip provided soulful music. And when their money ran out, which was usually towards the middle of the month, it was Dilip's dal and rice that they would survive on till the next month money order came, along with the letter from their families. They would both happy call home once a month, and over the years, their family grew used to hearing the other places on the phone. Not once during the 4 years did they go home. It wasn't simply back then, and neither they nor their families could afford it. Instead, they spent their summers working to supplement the money orders, flirting with girls, and singing songs in the warm summer nights. And then, in their last summer together, the two of them bought a battered old Ford with their pooled savings and set off on the road trip across America. And America, as yet innocent of foreigners, welcomed them with open arms. Their modus operandi to find a familiar surname in the phone directory, call and introduce themselves. More often than not, homesick Indians and Pakistani living in small towns would invite them home, fed them, and give them a place to spend the night. Dilip smiled at the memory. He would never forget that road trip. At last, after a graduation ceremony, they attended by themselves. They packed their bags and booked their tickets. Parvez, you better to stay in touch and write. I know you're useless without me. You wouldn't even have a written once to your parents if I had not made you. Dilip had known better than to trust his charming but feckless friend. Of course, I will stay in touch, yaar. And you better not to forget invite me to India, Parvez had said as he hugged him goodbye. The two of them had managed to keep in touch until their professional and social life engulfed them. Family and work got in the way of occasional letters and calls. Dilip then moved to Delhi and eventually settled there. As they passed, occasionally Dilip would catch himself remembering his old friend but lacked the will or time to reconnect with him. And now, when he had all the time in the world, he did not know where to find him. Rohan, what are you doing? What are you looking for? His grandparents asked, finding him searching. Our friend. Where does your friend live? Dilip was quiet for a moment. Somewhere in Pakistan? I am not sure though. It sounded odd not to know where to look. Pakistan? You have a friend in Pakistan? Papa, Mummy, did you know this? Dadaji has a Pakistani friend. He called to his parents indifferently. Dilip was not surprised. Years of indoctrination through history books and media and lack of personal contact had left the youth of both countries believing they could never be friends. Not much had changed since 1971. As a child, Dilip's son had heard stories of his father friend, but Meeta, his daughter-in-law, was also surprised. Dilip told them about Parvez, but how they became friends and then lost in touch. And now that he discovered the internet, how he had begun to searching for his long-lost friend. Let's find your friend. Rohan was enthusiastic. Is that possible? After months of searching, Dilip was doubtful. Difficult, but nothing is impossible. Rohan grinned with the confidence of the young. Over the next few days, Rohan hooked up Dilip to every social working network site. Twitter, Google+, Facebook, MySpace, and many more. Dilip felt a bit overwhelmed. He did not know there were so many sites, but even Rohan, the social networking expert, was having trouble to finding a Pakistani who could help them to connect with a bigger network. Dilip reflected a little sadly to himself on how the new generation, despite of having incredible access to information and knowledge, still regarded their neighbors as aliens and had trouble to connecting with them. And then, on the third day, Dilip chanced upon an online group of Indian and Pakistanis. There were petitions, posts, and comments on a variety of issues relating to India and Pakistan. Interested? Dilip decided to explore the group. Suddenly, a message caught in his eyes. I am Parvez Iqbal from Karachi, looking for a long lost friend, Dilip Sharma, in India. Having no idea where he is now, his family has moved from their home in Shahjahanpur. We spent some wonderful days together in the US, and he promised me that he would invite me to India one day. I am waiting, Dilip. Get in touch with me. Your friend awaits you. Below these lines was a picture of them of two during their days in the US. An old hazy picture that brought a flood of memories back to Dilip and smiled to his face. Rohan, I have found him. Come quickly, this is my friend. Dilip shouted, out of unable to contain his excitement. Rohan came rushing down out of his room. Is that him? Is that you in this picture with him? Dadaji, you look so handsome. Rohan laughed. Yes, that is. Dilip gently touched the picture on the computer screen. What are you waiting for? Send him a message. Invite him like you promised you would do. Without wasting a moment, Dilip wrote his message for his long lost friend in comment section. Dear Parvez, your long lost friend has found you and is going to fulfill his promise very soon. We will meet and talk our old times. India and I are waiting for you. See you soon, my dearest friend, Dilip. 6 months later, when Parvez visited India, he did not look for a familiar name in a phone book. He had an address and place to stay that felt remarkably like his own.